Hey, Adam.
What's up?
Stay tuned at the very end of this episode. I got a surprise for you.
All
At the
right.
very end.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
You're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Coming at you today, sponsored by Open Studio. Hey, check out Open Studio for amazing courses from such incredible jazz artists like Peter Martin here, Jeffrey Keyser, Christian McBride, Diane Reeves, Warren Wolf, Peter Sprague, Amaro Lubambo, Ulysses Owens Jr. Who am I leaving out? Steve Wilson,
Greg
Sean
Hutchinson.
Jones, Greg Hutchinson. I mean, come on. Ruben Rogers.
Elio Alves coming soon. Adam Maness.
Elio Alves.
Jumpstart piano jazz.
Yours truly. I mean, I got a lot of stuff now, Pete. We've been working hard, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
you know
come
what?
see us at
None of it-
openstudionetwork.com. And is it still openstudionetwork.com?
It is. We're about to transition, but we're not ready to announce that yet.
All right.
Not yet.
They'll always be able to find us somehow,
Yeah.
some way. I mean, you're listening to our podcast, so, there's probably a good chance you
Yeah.
know what that's all about. Anyway, man,
Yeah.
today we're talking about getting beyond the changes. Do you have any idea what that means?
I've been trying to change up a bunch of things in my life, and I'm getting beyond it. So I absolutely do know. We should just know we are remote. We're so smooth, but people, if you're seeing it on the YouTubes, big shout out to YouTube. Keep searching, keep videoing, keep doing all that. Way to go, Google. But we are
gravy,
remote
dude.
for day 2. But I'm excited because it went so good yesterday that I don't know. Maybe I'll never come back.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. You're in D.C., is that right?
D.C., Washington D.C., our nation's capital,
Nice.
Kennedy Center,
Nice.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Sure is quiet around here. Peaceful and quiet. It's really nice. Piano's all to myself. It's great.
Nice.
So we got an email from Nick. I'm Nick from the UK, and my question is, I've started a couple of monthly jazz clubs in the area, and they're going really well. I get to play with, and people get to see the top UK players in our town, so all good. It's a real learning curve for me, and I sometimes get roasted, particularly on soloing on really fast tempos. You did a podcast on fast tempos, and something you said struck me, and I wonder if you could elaborate on this. You said you don't think about the changes anymore. I'd love to find out more about this way of getting beyond changes. Cheers and keep up the amazing work. Nice.
Nice. Thanks, Nick from the UK.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that we don't really talk about a lot, but it's, I think, very, very important when you're improvising. I mean, let's talk about like sort of some mental goals while you're improvising. For me, it's to think about nothing. And I've heard you say that as well.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about.
It's easy for me. I'm empty-headed, as my wife says, empty-headed. So
not a lot
no
going
problem.
on up here either, man. So, but when we're improvising, I think we're at our best when we are just listening and reacting and not thinking about changes or our time or what we want to do in the solo or what we want to eat for lunch, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the more we can be out of our heads and in the moment, purely with the music and the people we're in the room with, the better.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's easy to say. But actually achieving this is something that takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I think if we, easier said than done, but also actually not that hard to start on that journey to sort of that promised land of what you're describing. We can start this today or the next time you play one of your organized jam sessions, as you said. Give yourself the leeway to just get a little bit better at this. It's kind of like meditation. We've talked about meditation, and this will help you if you do meditation, guided or otherwise. But the idea is that, you want to kind of get everything out except for the thing that you're thinking about. But it's not that you can actually keep every thought from creeping. Something will creep in, a car horn will honk, or you'll play a wrong note, whatever. That's okay. But like, are you ready to go back to being empty-headed or whatever? So that's the goal. If we get just a little bit better each time, that's fine. Don't put the pressure on yourself of like, boom, roasted this time, because it's not binary. It's not like I failed and then I succeeded and you passed some line. It's going to be a gradual ascent. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, wow, I'm kind of in the moment. And, 97% of what I'm playing is really good. And so I'm well into that category where the momentum starts to kind of take care of itself.
Yeah.
Is that your experience with it?
It's totally my experience, and meditation has helped me achieve that too. We've talked about that before, that, for me, I use the tools that I've learned in my meditation practice on stage all the time, because you're right. Like no one has achieved enlightenment that we're aware of. And so like what happens when thoughts creep in, all kinds of thoughts, from like, what are we going to play next, to who's that? Did I know that? Do I know that person that just walked in the club? Like, to all this,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like all that stuff can
Yep.
get in the way of what we want to be, which is in the moment. So I find it very, very helpful. Another thing that I think of sometimes when things are popping in my head is, and I remember a teacher told me this once, that our attention tends to follow our eyes. So
Mm.
if I start to wander, I'll either look down at the keyboard, or maybe at a musician that I might want to make a connection with, like the drummer or the bass player, and I'll focus my visual attention on something, and that will kind of bring me to the moment. Even just being like, I'm just going to watch the bass player's finger hit the string, and I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to watch that, and it kind of, that's where my attention goes. Or I'm just going to watch my hands on the piano and not think about the chord changes.
Yeah.
Those things I find very helpful. And then
Well,
go ahead.
I was just thinking, so for that, you could apply what it really is. There's a number of different distractions, and certainly visual and things that happen. There's all these different things, and somebody could say, well, I have a different kind of distraction. But the idea is that we're getting in the habit of overcoming them,
Mm.
removing them, or putting ourselves in the position. It's like we talked about habits 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
And, something that is, really takes a higher level maybe of concentration, and kind of combination of concentration, skill, agility, dexterity, all these kind of things that we have to pull together in order to be able to play fast, so to speak. You have to get in a lot of good habits, and combine them.
Yeah, so
So
true.
that's why we sort of take our time with this. But you can do certain things, like maybe you position yourself, maybe just close your eyes. That's the easiest way not to be, if you're being distracted by something visually, or you position the seat a little bit, or whatever you have to do. And then eventually you'll get to the point where you're in the habit of just not being distracted visually. Then you can open your eyes again, and it won't bother you as much. If you kind of focus, if the drums like distract you or throw you off, even if they're really good, if that like keeps you from being able to play fast or whatever, concentrate on the bass, get in the habit of doing that. But whatever it is that we do, you can't just do it once. To form a habit, some people say it takes 2 weeks or 10,000 hours, whatever. It's never that easy, but you got to do it over and over again till it just sort of, because there's the undoing of bad habits, and I want to talk about those. To the point of Christian McBride, we always come back. I can tell you some things not to do.
Yeah.
It's almost easier to focus on those. But as we're getting rid of the bad habits, we want to be bringing in new habits. But sometimes as we get rid of the bad habits, especially with this kind of thing for playing fast, you'll be actually kind of automatically almost replacing them with good habits.
That's so true.
Yeah, and I think actually the biggest bad habit that will get in the way and kind of rear its ugly head for playing fast is breathe.
Yeah,
We talk about number one, listen, but a lot of times when we're playing fast, remember we had Ruben Rogers in the studio, and he said number one, and we were like, listen. He's like, no, breathe.
Yeah.
And so
what a breather that guy is.
Man, he's a breather, man. That dude is straight oxygen, man. It's like he's in Aspen, Colorado, even when he's at sea level. It's incredible.
No, but he did that exercise. I think you guys were playing Cherokee or something, like just crazy fast. And he kind of exaggerated how he breathes, and he breathes these beautiful, big, slow breaths as he's doing this unbelievably physical activity on the bass. These super fast quarter notes played like perfectly even and struck in just the most beautiful way. One thing I was thinking about as you were talking about getting out of your head is like, instead of thinking about the changes as a intellectual concept, think about the changes as a sound, right? Sometimes I'll think about that. I won't future cast like, okay, next up is 2/5 to E flat, but I try to think about the sound that's about to happen. You know what I mean? Or that just naturally happens, where like the sound comes to me of what's about to go on. And so that's in a way, like, I think when we're really out of the changes, we're just hearing what's happening. What's happening next is anticipated, but in the sound of it, not in like the name of it. You know what I mean?
I like that. Yeah. Now I'm thinking like what that made me think of was sort of sound in kind of a general, maybe harmonic area that we could apply our improvisational, sounds or melodies or whatever, like thinking about what sounds are available. That's what comes to my mind. And maybe even stretching things out bigger than they are. Like if the chords are moving really fast, like we think of Cherokee as the chords moving really fast, but if you think about tonal centers and kind of, diatonic movements and stuff,
Yeah.
you can actually stretch them out that they're even really fast. You're sitting there for a while.
Just
They're
a
not
couple.
changing like every 2 beats. Yeah. It's not like giant steps.
No. Yeah, it's just a couple in A sections.
Yeah, in worst case scenario, we can just go, straight B flat major scale. I mean, it won't work great, but it'll work, right?
Yeah, don't be a hero.
But don't be a zero.
Don't be a zero. One more thing, Nick, and we probably should have started with this, but the obvious thing on this is you don't want to get stuck thinking about something because you don't know it. You know what I mean? Like if there's a B flat, if you want to play a B flat 7, flat 9, and you don't know that your half whole scale that great, like that's going to be a problem. So really, you have to put in the work to just get these things in your finger, in your brain, so that you can recall them without having to think about them. Like that's the first thing, obviously.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I just heard a story that I remember because I was there. It was years ago. It was great. Marcus Printup, who's a wonderful trumpeter from Georgia, who's up here teaching with us. He told the story about when we were on tour with Wynton Marsalis years ago, and I remembered being there, and it was such a cool thing. Wynton is somebody who's known to trumpet players, well, I mean to everybody, but like as being a master of like being able to relax and really just kill at fast tempos. And like he's been playing Cherokee for years. I heard when I was in high school, just incredible agility and like right in the time and like, phrasing and everything. But there was, we were playing somewhere and we did it was with the big band, I think, the Lincoln Center. And then like on the encore, he called Cherokee. And it was kind of funny because like he played okay, but it wasn't the usual like Wynton thing. And I think he'd been dealing with a lot of stuff and maybe, it was still really good. And if you didn't know him or hadn't heard him, you'd be like, wow, that was great. But it wasn't the typical kind of Wynton playing over Cherokee. And we all kind of felt it on stage, but it was like, yeah, whatever. Everyone can have an off night. But it was weird for him, especially on that tune and playing fast. But when we came off stage, normally Wynton is so great. Like right afterwards, he's like signing autographs and meeting young musicians and all this kind of stuff. I've never seen this. Like he went in his dressing room, closed the door right after, and was in there shedding slowly over Cherokee. Like, he didn't care that everyone, and he sat there for like an hour.
Wow.
Like just practicing, So it's not a thing of like, oh, we've achieved enlightenment and now we've mastered this. You have to be checking yourself all the time. And, trumpet, piano, bass, all these different instruments have different technical challenges for playing fast. And once you get it, don't think you're always going to have it. You got to keep maintaining it, but you got to have that dedication, discipline, and commitment and love of the music and love of coming through at those fast tempos. To be able to sustain that over time.
So true. Thank you, Nick, for sending in the email. Great question.
Yeah.
If you want to send us an email, Pete, where should they go?
They should go to Gmail and form an account, and then go to their outbox and say create email, and then send that to. Okay. I don't know where they send it actually. Do they send it to Andrew at Open Studio?
Andrew, can we get Jeff Clapp back in here, please? Just much more.
Sorry, is he much? The Clapper Dabber. No, they send it to. I really don't know. Where do they send it?
You go to you'llhearit.com. You can leave us a message. You can leave us a speak pipe. Man, right, I set that up for you on a golden tee.
No, you didn't, because you said where would they send us an email, and that's kind of a funny thing because we've never had a You'll Hear It email address.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so that is my bad. That is my bad.
That's okay. Yeah, go to you'llhearit.com. Check out the new blog. Maybe it's not new to you, but it's new to somebody. We've got, we've been having a lot of sharing and ratings and reviews. We're not going to ask for those, but just say that that's being done. But it really leads to, we just got that message today about, I just heard about your podcast. You've been living under a jazz rock? Do I have to call the jazz police on you? No. I mean, there's still people discovering us that want to hear this. So keep that up. And then, do we talk about our special secret surprise after the? Oh yeah, that's enough.
Oh, they'll see it. They'll see it. Hey, but you did say you wanted to end on a song. What song are you talking about?
I did not say that. What are you talking about? No, I said we're gonna, after the ending song, our normal one. There's gonna be a surprise.
Oh, okay, I got you.
A new tradition.
This is. I mean, you surprised me, man. I don't even know what's going on.
Hey, man, that's how we do it. So,
all right,
we'll talk about it more tomorrow because
you'll hear it. I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Coming at you today, sponsored by Open Studio. Open Studio is a place where you can get jazz lesson. Let's start that over again.
La 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 la. Oh, that's a good blooper. That's your blooper right there.
Yeah.
No, that's the kind of thing. Dude, tell Andrew this should be easy AF because we have bloopers every time.
See, Andrew?